Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. Gonna have an interesting one for you today. Got a lot to get into. I've been gone for a few days, so it's good to be back. I'm live right now with John from Everything BK Nets. I'll be live later tonight. Not sure what time with Dylan. And you gonna be able to join us later tonight, John?
I'm not sure. I'll try to, but
All
if
right.
I can, I'll come off of tomorrow's a recap of the game tonight for sure.
We'll be back later tonight with Dylan and possibly John. I'll be live again with Everything BK. John and Dylan tomorrow to break down. I guess we're still calling it a tankathon game. I want to get into this with the Nets. First, let's. I don't know who's playing for the Hornets. Is Mark Williams playing today, or is that still up in the air?
Still up in the air. Last I heard, the crazy thing. I'm shoveling snow the other day, and I'm like, we had one of the most horrible deadlines you could have, and I'm like, is there a sign that this could all line up for the Nets somehow? And then we got the news that Mark Williams did not pass his physical. This is very interesting. Jeff Peterson tried to do what Sean Marks did with Ben Simmons, which is get a player who's injured and not healthy through a physical to get a haul of assets. And the Lakers, they're not the organization you try to play that type of game with, and they were. So I don't know if he's ready tonight, but so far from what I heard is that he's in pretty bad shape. So that deal is now null and void. So Dalton Kennett, Cam Reddish, you're back on your team, and Mark, you're with the team that want to get rid of you.
I want to get into that. Do you want to start with Simmons first, or you want to start with what this could possibly potentially mean for the Nets and Claxton? What do you want to start with?
Let's start
We'll
with the
start
good stuff. We'll start with the bad baggage that we don't care about anymore after this. But yeah, this is huge. This is huge. Usually, when trades rarely get rescinded like this, and you think about the whole that the Lakers willing to give up for Mark Williams, they're willing to give up Dalton Kennett, their prospect, they're willing to give up Cam Reddish, a rotational piece, and they want to give up two first round picks for a guy making a $4 million salary. So that's an all in move, especially when you just got Luka. So you thought this will put the Lakers where they should be, and then it turns out things don't happen as they're supposed to. So that's null and void now. So now the Lakers need to go into this offseason to find a center. They're not just looking for a rental. They want a guy that could be on this team the next 3 to 5 years with Lucas. So I think this definitely puts us back, especially with Claxton, now that his contract is descending. So his salary will go down a bit next year, which should kind of help negotiations. And Gabe Vincent and Rudy are two of their main trade chips, and they'll be expiring contracts now. What was Mark's big cry during this trade deadline? I don't want to take back contracts multiple years. Well, you got two guys on expirings. They still have the 2031 pick. So I feel like the Lakers and the Nets have a chance to do some real business. I know there's some players out there like a Robert Williams, a Miles Turner sign and trade, but at the end of the day, the Lakers wanted an athletic big that could protect the rim. And Clax has shown you if you put stars around him, he can do what he has to do, which is just be a decent
let's get
defender.
into Claxton, right? Because we know
Mhm.
that Lakers and the Nets had conversations about Claxton. I think to some degree, with a pick and roll player like Luka, Claxton makes a bit more sense. And I think he may be able to go back to what he was when the Nets had their big three and he was kind of playing that role. I think he can make some sense there. But like we have to be honest, Nick Claxton has not played up to his contract this year. He's been terrible. Like, can we just call it for what it is? He's been terrible. Now, I'm not saying he has no value and he sucks. What I am saying is he sucked this year. He has. Like, there's no kind way to put it. He's been horrible this year. To me, his value is kind of like when you're in a bar and you see a girl that's all done up and you're drunk, and the more and more sober you get, the worse and worse she looks. And right, so like each additional moment that you're in there, this girl's losing value. It's like, well, she was a 10, now she's like, is she a 5? She might be a 2. Like, do I really want to do this? That's kind of my take on Nick Claxton as a basketball player, right? Like, I understand why they would want him, but like the more and more you watch him, the more and more you see him, like the more and more he loses value. Are they going to want him? To me, like the time to trade Nick Claxton was yesterday, right? Like every day he loses value. What is your thoughts on that? You're right
Yeah,
about
I
his
mean,
contract. His contract goes down every year, which is a great thing for the Nets.
Right, and like you said, we can't go around beat around the bush in this one. He's had a really bad season. This was supposed to be the year when they gave him that $100 million contract. No accolades to his name, no defensive player of the year, no nothing.
Oh,
And
only
you
with the
expect,
second team's nothing. Yeah,
yeah, you
nothing.
expected him to at least work on offense, mid-range shot, a three-point shot. He's done it a little bit this season, but he's barely made any. I think he's made maybe 2 or 3 mid-range
Yeah, he's made
shots.
about 4 or 5 mid-range shots. He's hit
Yeah.
1 3. Yeah, I mean, it's not even worth mentioning. Yeah.
It's not even worth mentioning. So it's like, what does he give you? At the end of the day, he can guard 1 through 4 on a really good team. He can't really guard the 5 against the best bigs, but if you have another big next to him or a strong power forward, it's enough to lapse that center and let Claxton shine. And the good thing that Claxton can do when he has a team of stars around him is be a lob threat. Nobody's really looking at him, and he can just kind of hang around the rim and get those extra 10 to 12 points. He needs a point guard to do 90% of his work. So you have LeBron and Luka, two ball dominant guys who are definitely going to be looking to pass the ball and score as much as possible. And Claxton fits that. He's also got that Hollywood style. He likes to wear the fashion gear, do the Zumba classes. So this should fit well with what he would want. And his contract is 3 years. So it fits with the Luka timeline. LeBron, he might sign a short extension to stay with them, but this is all about maximizing Luka. And Luka definitely needs an athletic big that can defend around him. Because let's remember, Luka's probably, for a superstar that he is, he's probably one of the worst superstar defenders in this league. I saw a stat where 41% of players are offensively just destroying him on defense. So you need a center that can give you some type of defensive presence. And the list is small this year. You got Robert Williams, who had knee surgeries. Is he really an athletic big where he used to be? Not really. DeAndre Ayton, they don't want his contract. Miles Turner is an interesting name. Do the Pacers want to do business with a team that they might have to face down the road if they advance to a finals appearance? I don't think so. I just feel like Claxton is the best option. But like you said, can Marks do it? This guy was whining about, I need my first round pick. I don't want any contracts with years on them. Well, the Lakers have 2 expiring contracts and a draft pick. Let's get the business done and stop playing Candyland. It's time to make some big moves this summer and position our team for the future.
My dog's bugging out because the garbage truck is outside. John, talk for like 10 more seconds. I'm gonna get.
Yes. Have fun with your dog. But yeah, it's interesting because I know many people are down about Marks right now, and you have all the right to be, this guy included. But at the end of the day, Marks now has a chance to rectify what he couldn't do with his deadline. You have a team like the Lakers that might want Claxton. Cam Johnson's going to have some shooters again this summer. So we have a chance to make up for what should have happened at the deadline. But Marks has to be proactive this summer. Marks can't just sit on his hands this summer and draft a couple of randos. This summer, every move that's made is to set us up for the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. So it's time to stop playing the game and stop playing Candyland.
I want to address this question because we talked about Claxton's ability to switch and defend the pick and roll and defend wings and defend guards and ball handlers. I think it's overrated. I don't think he is. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that he's an all-time great switch defender. To me, he's ridiculous. I want to ask this question. It's a serious question. Who's a better switch defender, him or Ben Simmons?
That's very interesting.
He wasn't even the best switch defender on his own team. That's my point. I would say it's Simmons.
The thing is, they're both very similar. Like offensively, they can't give you nothing. They try barely, but defensively, they can give you some things. I would say Claxton, health-wise, has more longevity in him than a Ben Simmons would at this point of his career. I think that's the one thing.
When they're on the court, I understand Ben Simmons is never on the court. I'm not. This is not in defense of Ben Simmons. It's just an attack on Nick Claxton. Who's better at defending ball handlers and wings? Who's better at defending the pick and roll?
I guess you, yeah. And at the end of the day, I think the good thing that Claxton would have going for himself in the Lakers is you have 2 ball dominant guys that will hide his offensive weaknesses. Claxton has shown you the ball's in his hands. He rarely can do much. He can't create any separation. He's probably got one of the slowest wind-up shots in the NBA, and that's not good for a guy that you paying $20 million to. So you need 2 ball dominant guys that just can tell Claxton, I need you to rebound for me over here. I need you to be ready for a lob over there. I need you to do the set playbook we have for you. It's like if people could plan out what Claxton has to do on the court, his offense is better. If you're asking Claxton to just do like anything on the court just from his mind, it's not going to look that good as you've seen. Like he can't create self-offense. So I definitely think this is a better situation for Claxton's future. But like you said, there's a lot of warts to his game. But right now on this team, it's just getting worse, like you said, Gary. And we can't afford to go another year or God forbid 2 years more with the way Claxton's going right now, because then you have to attach picks to go off his contract, and that's a mess Sean Marks should look to avoid, especially if he wants to keep his job at this point.
Yeah, I'm not even looking to get any real draft capital. Look, Mark Williams is a better player than Claxton. If the only trade I can get is that Mark Williams trade minus the draft pick, I still make it because I got to get Claxton's contract off the books moving forward. I can't have $50 million tied up in Claxton and Cam Johnson. I can't have it. I can't compete that way. Nor will I ever be able to compete that way. So Marks does not want to trade Cam Johnson. That's obvious. I don't know why. He got 11 teams who checked in on him. He doesn't want to trade Cam Johnson. So we can take the idea that he's going to trade Cam Johnson and throw it away. It's not happening. Not unless he can get a Mikal Bridges hole for him, which he's not. Because all Cam Johnson can do is run three-point line to three-point line. And I'm tired of people pretending that he's more than that. No, that's what he is. For better or for worse, that's what he is. Claxton, like I said, Claxton to me actually makes a bit of sense on LA. Now, the only question is, does LA look at his contract and say, it's not worth it? Or do they say, it is worth it? Right? Like $20 million is a lot. It goes down every year. The cap goes up every year. He's going to help us with Luka. He's going to help us compete. We don't have to give up too much. We think it's worth it. I don't know the answer to that. You know, he is more valuable playing with a guy like Luka. He does add value. He can lob with them. He can pick and roll with them. He can do a lot with them. With the Nets, he's basically useless because Nets don't really play a heavy pick and roll offense. It's a lot of penetrating pitch, right? It's just not there. He's more useless in this offense where his role fits the Lakers better. Would the Lakers be willing to take on that contract? I don't know.
I think they will.
Right? Yeah.
I think they will, just because it's about building around Luka right now, and Luka needs an athletic big that could just do all the dirty work, the running around, the lobs, the rebounds, stuff like that, and help cover his back. That's what Luka needs. Luka needs a lot of defensive pieces. You look like a Rudy and Gabe Vincent. Those are expiring contracts the Lakers don't need. The Lakers need to use whatever money they have left to get more defensive pieces around Luka and just let Luka cook. And then LeBron, he's going to back him up there too. And then you have Claxton just with two great all-around scorers, just feeding him 10 to 12 points a night, which I think will help the Lakers. Now, will it help them win the title? I don't know. I think they need a lot more pieces, but Claxton will be a piece. I think he's a better option than the ones I mentioned, a Turner, a DeAndre Ayton, or Robert Williams. I mean, if the Lakers throw a first-round pick at Williams, that'd be weird.
Like, he's absolutely better than Jackson Hayes. So
yeah, that's who they got right now, Jackson Hayes.
No shit at Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes is not a good basketball player.
Oh, man. Imagine if Davis does play this playoffs, it's him against Hayes, man. What's Jackson Hayes going to do against a Davis, a Chet Holmgren, or a Rudy Gobert? And Rudy's horrible at offense, but, like, they got a small guy out there. And Claxton, he's undersized big, but he can give you those rebounding intangibles. He's also a double-double machine. That's the one stat I've always kept track of with Claxton in Brooklyn, is that when he's playing his best, he can give you 10, 11 points and give you 8 or 9 or 10 rebounds. So you couple that with the Lakers, I think his production from the rebound and offensive side will be more consistent with two offensive dominant guys. It's just, can Sean and Pelinka get the deal done? That's what I'm really looking for this summer. Now Marks has a second chance, a chance he didn't think he was going to get Claxton off this team. I hope he takes a second chance and not let it pass by, because if he does, I don't see a scenario where we can get off of Claxton in the next 2 or 3 years. I feel like this summer is now your best chance.
We're going to move to Ben Simmons after this, but let's address this. I wonder if the Lakers play small ball with DFS for now. Because you would have Dorian Finney-Smith, who's strong as a Brahma bull, and LeBron James, who's 6'9", 260 pounds, and a tremendous freak. You're obviously going small, right? But you have two guys who are the size of power forwards, right? In James, and then you have Luka, who's a massively big point guard. Could the Lakers do that? I know this is off topic, but could the Lakers just play Doe as their 5 or Fran as their 5? You know,
they could try for right now.
Like, it seems so small to me, but Dorian Finney-Smith is a better post defender at 6'7" than Claxton is. And we saw this, like playing the Nuggets. Who do they have on Joker down the stretch? Doe, right? He's a better post defender than Claxton. So
yeah, that was just nasty.
I like Doe. I don't know why he had bad words for the Nets on his way out. Like I feel like we've been good to him. I feel like all Net fans like Doe. I don't know why he trashed the team on the way out, but I like Dorian Finney-Smith. I think he has value. Like, he's a winning player. Can they do that? Can they play Doe and Bron as their bigs?
Yeah, well, I don't know why he does other things. I just think he can't accept the fact he's a watered down version of PJ Tucker at this point in his career, but that's cool. He still gives you a lot of intangibles. But I think right now he works as a small ball guy, and they're going to keep him. That's Luca's guy right there. Relationships, bonds, that's important. And I think Luca's banking on his assist playmaking to get those 3-point shot back. And if you have Doe and Claxton on the court, those are defensive pieces you need around Luca. So I think that makes even more sense for these two to be on the Lakers than on the Nets, because on the Nets, after KD, Kyrie, Claxton, and Doe's offense was atrocious, and their defense was okay, but they didn't have the offensive weapons around them that the Lakers have with Braun and Luka. So I look at that four right there in LA as the building blocks of something. Then you have Austin Reeves, who has shown some really good scoring lately. So I think that's a good five next year. LeBron, Luka, Doe, Claxton, and Reeves. I think that's a decent five. It's just their bench. They're gonna have to round that out with a lot of good pieces. But I think that makes more sense for the Lakers as far as trying to build something more cohesive around the Lakers. And for us, we get 2 expiring contracts and a pick that aligns up perfectly for our goals. So get the deal done, Sean. This is a
I don't know
win-win.
that we're getting the same Mark Williams haul for Claxton. Look, getting rid of Nick Claxton is a win in and of itself for us. He does not fit in this offense. He doesn't fit here. Not as currently constituted. Just getting him off the books is a win. I don't really care what we get in return. Just get him off the books and bring in some expiring deals. Like Hachimura, to me, like if we could do that, let's just do it. Like Rui's got 1 year left on his deal after this. Let's just bring Rui.
Yep.
Okay, that works for me. And I like Rui. Like he might be like, let's see how Rui looks offensively, but he has a big part in the Nets offense. Because if the Nets got him and Cam Thomas isn't playing, Rui is by far your best offensive player.
Yep.
Right? Like by far. So when you're running an offense through Rui, let's see what that looks like. I'd be willing to like take a look at Rui and see like is he a guy that can be here beyond next year. So I would do that. Like I'm not expecting the same Williams haul for Claxton because Claxton's contract is bad and he's not as good as Williams, but he still has a lot of value specifically to the Lakers. Like he helps the Lakers do what they want to do, believe it or not. Even though I sound like I'm bashing him and I'm saying he sucks, he does have value. And that value would be more appreciated on the Lakers than the Nets, where he's basically useless.
Right. Most definitely. And the biggest win of this whole deal is not even to win the assets per se. It's to get the cap space flexibility. Like, look at the stat Gary said this year. Johnson, Ben, and Claxton were taking up over $70 million of our salary book. That's insane. One of them is injured most of their career, and the other one has no offense. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have all that tied up.
22, 27, and 41, right?
That's disgusting. That's just disgusting. So you get Claxton's contract off the books. Give me Rui and one pick. That pick is not going to be worth much, but it's a trade chip nonetheless. And I get the cap space flexibility to actually go after a real star in the future through a trade or something like that. So it has way more benefits long term for us, and it helps the Lakers out in the short term. So it's a good deal. Just Sean Marks, get it done. Just get it done.
It's going to be dependent. Look, the Lakers checked in on Claxton. So they have some interest in him. We know that for sure. Yeah, it's on Marks now, and I have no confidence in Marks. Marks couldn't trade Cam Johnson when 11 teams wanted him. Like, and you could have got the Marcus Smart trade for him. You could have got Marcus Smart and a 1 for Cam Johnson. Could have been done out the door. You bring in a winner who can help whoever you're going to draft the point guard next year, right? Bang. You got Smart on a 1 year left on his deal. Help him work with a new point guard. Then you can decide if you want to try to bring him back on a minimum deal moving forward. But that trade made sense for the Nets. And it was available to you because they ended up trading Smart for scrap pieces anyway. Like they would have much rather had Cam Johnson. So that trade was available to you. Cam Johnson could have gone to Memphis for Smart and a 1, which we've talked about on the show 100 times. And Marks decided not to do it. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't understand why, but
well, the biggest thing he kept complaining about was he wants people on expiring contracts. Well, now that I'm looking at the books, the Lakers have 2 expiring contracts. Yeah, they got 1 year left of deals, and even with the Spurs, Harrison Barnes. If we can't get what's the guy's name that you wanted? If Keldon Johnson. If they didn't want Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, he's on a 1-year contract too. So, like, if you want expiring deals this summer, Marks, you can get him and the pick. So if he can't make those moves, it means that he is probably one of the most greediest GMs I've ever met in my life, and he doesn't deserve what he's getting back there if that's the case. If you can't get what the teams are willing to give what you want, and you still want more, you can't negotiate with somebody like that. You're just delusional at that point, and that's a huge problem.
Right. Dealing with Sean Marks is like dealing with your friend in fantasy football who just overvalues all of his players. Be like,
Yep.
I want Saquon Barkley and Jamar Chase, and I'll give you Garrett Wilson. It's like, bro, no. Like, what are you talking about? It's just, it's like, no. And that's dealing with Marks in real life. He doesn't understand the value of his players. It's like when he brought in Cam Johnson and Bridges, he thought he was getting 2 All-Stars. It's like, bro, you're getting a role player and the 3 and D wing kind of minus the D, right? Like, I don't know what you think you're getting here. And then he gave Cam Johnson that contract. It's like, bro, he's not good. He's only got value on a good team. He's got value on Phoenix when Phoenix was good. He has no value here. Like, he's going to stand at the 3-point behind the 3-point line and shoot threes. That's it. Like, he's not helping you win games. He's not a winning player on a bad team. And he's not like Julius Randle or Brandon Ingram where he can make a bad team better. He's just going to make a bad team bad and score a bunch of points. Like, that's it.
Right.
He's going to get a bunch of empty points. He's going to hit some threes.
It's not to cry home about. And most of his career, he was averaging 13 points. Imagine getting a $90 million contract for averaging 13 points, a lottery pick. G Leaguers are going, I average more than this guy, and I can't even get 5 minutes in the NBA. like that's Sean Marks' problem. He has given away some bad contracts. I saw a stat from, I think, Jay from BK or something on Twitter, and he had like a whole list of Sean Marks' bad deals. Like, he was giving money away to players I hadn't even heard about. Not just the Allen Crabs, but there was this other guy who was willing to give $100 million to. I don't even think he's in the league anymore.
Yeah.
Like crazy. Like Sean Marks is horrible with his dispensary of his money. Like, you can invest in players, I understand, but they have to have some type of longevity to them. This guy just looks to give money away to players to justify that, oh, I made the right decision. No, you've made more wrong decisions than good decisions. And that's a huge issue.
I just want to put this in perspective here with Cam Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
1920, his rookie year, 8.8 points a game. His second year, the year the Suns go to was this the year the Suns went to the finals? It was, right? 2021?
Yeah.
9.6 points a game. 21-22, 12.5 points a game. 22-23, his best year, 15.5 points a game. 23-24, 13.4 points a game. You see what he is. Like, this is what he is. And then this year, he's on the worst team ever, and he's averaging 19 because he's getting a bunch of shots. But he's a guy that can average between 10 and 15 points a game. That's what he is.
Right.
Now, he can get there pretty efficiently, but, like, this is what you gave all that money to. And he can't do anything else. Rebounds, 3, 4 rebounds a game. A power forward who gets 4 rebounds a game. He obviously 1-2 assists a game. He can't do that. Like, there's not much that he can do. He's not a good defensive player. He can't guard 4s and he can't guard wings. Like, there's not a whole lot that he can do. He's a good shooter. He's not a good basketball player. And you paid him as if he's a good basketball player. And it's just,
right.
That's not the case.
And you said there's no way Mark's supposed to trade him. I'm looking at 2 teams on draft night. I think draft night is your biggest chance to actually do something right, not just get back some type of assets, but actually move up in this draft. Because I look at the Spurs and OKC. They're going to be in the draft with us. They got some important picks. I think if OKC loses, they might be more willing to do business with those picks because they have a full roster right now. And if you need another upgrade, you're going to have to move some pieces and some picks. And I look at the Spurs who do want Johnson because they want to be in the playoffs next year with Fox and Wemby. And Johnson is a great fit for them. So I'm looking at those 2 teams right now who might be more willing to do business on draft night because they want to be better the following year. So Marks has chances this summer, but if he takes no chances this summer with these guys, I can't see this guy's GM anymore because you literally could get back assets now this summer than you probably could at the deadline. That's the only way to justify not doing it at the deadlines, but you're expecting to get something decent back in the summer. But if you let the summer go by and just draft players, it's a massive failure. There's no way we could trust you going forward. Seriously.
Let me ask you, BC is a big Lakers fan, and he suggests this trade. And let me know what you think. 2 seconds, pick 2 second rounders, Rui and Reddish for Claxton. Your thoughts? Do you do it?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready to get his contract off the books.
Let's go.
First
Yeah, let's
is
do
it's
it.
fun to find a dandy. I got 16 of them, and I need the cap space flexibility. So get that deal done. Let's do it. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Sean
I
Marks
would
wanted
do it
to,
on the picks. Yeah,
yeah,
let's get it done.
Sean Marks
Sounds
wanted
good.
to sleep the whole day away. Well, this is what you get for sleeping the whole day away. The offer went down, and I'll just take it at this point. Give me the expiring contract. Give me the 2 seconds, and we'll find a dandy. Like, enough's
Done.
enough.
BC likes it from the Lakers standpoint. We like it from the Nets standpoint. Let's do it. Let's roll.
Yeah.
He needs it big. I need to get Claxton off the books. Let's get it done. I like what we're getting here. All right, let's transition over to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons got bought out. Ben Simmons is no longer. First, I want to address this. The Brooklyn Nets put on their IG page, "Thank you, Ben." Is that a joke? Like, do you not know how to read a room? Like, do you not know the temperature of the room? Thank you, Ben. This was the biggest disappointment in the history of sports. I don't even believe all his injuries were legitimate. We know he had a fake injury with Philly. I don't know why everyone just assumed that these injuries were real when we know he had a fake injury in Philly. Like, thank you, Ben. He played 90 games in 4 years. Thank you, Ben. What are we talking about? Like, I saw this and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. John, your thoughts?
Wait, Ben Simmons actually played for us? Like, this is insane to me. Thanking a guy who nearly tanked our whole future away. Listen, we got to set the record straight. Ben Simmons will go down in NBA history as one of the most overrated first-round draft pick selections in NBA history and one of the biggest con jobs in sports history. I'll put up there with the A-Rod steroid scandal, the White Sox World Series scandal. What this guy has done, stealing NBA money away. People can say, oh, we got the contract. Well, at the end of the day, this guy has had more fun off the court promoting his modeling fanaticism than he has actually on the court to help a team. I mean, this guy is giving you more hand claps, dabs, and thumbs up on the bench as a stat line than he's actually giving you points on the court. To average 6, 6, and 6 when you're making over $80 million last 3 years, it's highway robbery. And Sean Marks, this is on him. And Joe decided this will go down in history, the Harden-Ben Simmons deal, as one of the top 3 worst trades of all time. Nobody won anything, and our future nearly got destroyed because he allowed this guy to come on the team. If Mark Williams is not going to the Lakers because they're one of the highest organizations in the NBA world because they don't trust his health, why did you trust Ben Simmons' health records? I bet he saw those records like, this guy's got a bad back, but you know what? I got to get James off the team. No! You keep pulling on the team and say, listen, we want to get you off the team, James, to do what you want. This guy had a bad back. We need to win a title. But he granted the wish and nearly destroyed our future. And what you're trying to say now is thank you, Ben. Thank you for what? For promoting narcolepsy? Come on. At the end of the day, this did nothing for us the last 3 to 4 years. Watching this guy waste away on the bench and say, oh, I want to play winning basketball. I want to help the young guys. Well, the first chance you got after your contract expiring, you're now pandering to the Philly fans, and you went back to Hollywood to play with James and Kawhi. I'll be honest with you. I think of people from the YMCA can beat that trio right now because I don't see nothing prosperous with that trio. So congratulations, Ben. You're going to take another organization. I'm just glad you don't line team. So thank you, Ben, for leaving when the time is right and to get away from Brooklyn basketball. He does not embody a single aspect of Brooklyn basketball. And at the end of the day, good luck in your future endeavors. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say thank you. I'm going to say good luck in your future endeavors, whether it's modeling in Milan or Monte Carlo or fly fishing or doing a Zumba class. Have fun with the rest of your life. But at the end of the day, Sean Marks, this is on you. You dropped the damn ball investing in a guy with a bad back who gave you nothing. So no thank yous. It's Sean Marks should apologize to the Brooklyn Nets fan base for putting this crap stain on our team in the first place. That's what I got to say about that.
And now Ben Simmons and James Harden are together. They were traded for each other, and now because everything is irony, Ben Simmons and James Harden are together. Well done, Clippers.
That Clippers team now looks like the geriatric ward over there. I mean, come on. I bet you people from the YMCA could beat those guys up right now.
Back. Yeah, 2018 called the Clippers, and we want our players back. That team is, yeah.
I mean, Cavs and Rockets would have made sense because you have young players in that team. But what is Ben going to do for James and Kawhi? Oh, pass the ball to James, and James like, you're open, Ben. No, I want you to have the ball. And Kawhi just on the bench going, my knee. like, come on. There's nothing good with that. So adios. See you never.
So Ben Simmons is bought out. He's obviously in that. They saved $1.1 million on the buyout. He's a Clipper. just your thoughts on the buyout. I mean, obviously we like this, but just give me your thoughts in general on the buyout of Ben
It
Simmons.
should have happened a lot sooner, but at the end of the day, we're moving forward. I think the great thing for the Brooklyn fan base is this guy is no longer financially handicapping us like an anchor because we couldn't do anything the last few years. Even when Marks had Bridges and he wanted to get Mitchell, you couldn't get Mitchell. Even if you tried, because you had to have moved Ben, and nobody wanted that guy's contract. Nobody wanted to touch that contract. So now that he's off our team, now we have financial flexibility for the first time in 3 to 4 years, and that is our biggest weapon right now is having the financial flexibility to build this team through the draft to then go after a star and do this right. But to have a guy make over 40, 50 million when he plays less than 10 games a year, it's not really disgusting. It shouldn't happen in sports, period. So thank gosh he's off our team, and now we can actually start playing Brooklyn basketball and building the team the way it should be built. So I'm happy he's no longer on this team. That's what you can take from it.
I would rather have Lou says I would rather have a disgruntled fat Harden than taking back Simmons. Yeah, no, me too.
I'll take Luka on the BS right now. Gary, I'll take Luka on the BS right now over this.
Here's what I want to say.
30 points.
So AD, who's out for a month, I understand, gets this reputation as he's always hurt and he doesn't play. This year and the last two, so the last 3 seasons, including this year, Anthony Davis has played in more games than Luka. So if Anthony Davis is always hurt and fragile and is never on the court, what is Luka?
Listen, nobody can take away the scoring upside from Luka, but I will agree
the knock on AD is that he's always hurt. The last 3 years, he's played more games. He has more availability than Luka. So if AD is always hurt, what does that make Luka?
You look at his conditioning, right? And everybody talks about the beer drink and all that, the not taking it serious in the offseason, but making demands of a team that you have to build a roster around me when I'm the main guy and I'm not obliging my obligations. I can understand it to a certain degree, but you were in the NBA Finals less than 8 months ago because of Luka. And everybody's looking at Kyrie like he did nothing wrong. I saw Kyrie get crushed by his former team, the Boston Celtics. I saw Luka, bust his ass to get them to the finals. So everybody say Luka was the main reason. I'm like, it takes 2 to tango. And last I checked, Luka and Kyrie were both playing in that series, and Kyrie got exposed. So everybody could use Luka as a scapegoat for being 270 pounds. Look to 70 pounds. I think he dropped that pretty quickly once, he found out he was getting traded from the team he wanted to spend the rest of his career.
He looks fat to me, bro.
Hey, listen, this guy could be 300 pounds like James Harden. He'll still drop 25 points and have a superstar performance.
For now. He will. I agree. For now. He will. Mm-hmm. Right? But eventually, being fat bastard catches up with you. He's 25 now. Okay, yeah, he can get away at 25. You can get away with being fat bastard. At 32, you can't. So he's gonna have a Sean Kemp type decline because you can't be fat bastard and play in today's NBA. He's already slow as hell to start with, right? Like, look, Luka, I'm not one of the 5 greatest offensive players I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Okay, so that we're not criticizing that. What we're criticizing is fat bastard, right? Like, you can't be fat bastard and be in today's NBA. It's too up-tempo. It's too fast of a game. You can't guard anybody, right? He's already slow and a defensive liability to start with. Now, at 25, he can't move. At 32, he's going to break down. It kind of is what he is. Now, he can be a great player for a while, but he is going to break down unless he loses that weight. Like,
Right, and the good thing is
360 when he won the 2002. Okay, that was a different game. Shaq stood on the block and didn't move, and he guarded bigs like Todd McCullough, who stood on the block, and Dikembe Mutombo, who stood on the block and didn't move. That's not how today's game is played anymore. Shaq, like they always say, well, what if Shaq was in today's NBA? We know what that is. It's Andre Drummond.
Right. And conditioning means a hell of a lot more because back then conditioning wasn't a huge thing. It was 5 minutes on the court.
The game was slow, and the center stood on the block. That's it, right? Shaq's entire game was run to the block and stand there, right? Like there wasn't the constant moving. It was a much slower game. He wasn't running up and down the court as much. It was a much slower game. So yes, he was 360 and fat. I agreed. But the game was different. You can't do that in today's game. In today's game, Shaq plays 20 minutes a game. He does because he can't play the game. Like, this is my point on Shaq. He can't play the game of basketball. He can stand on the block and dunk, and he had moves. Like, I'm not saying he sucked. He had little baby hook shots. He had little one-hand push shots. He could score around the rim more than just dunk, but he couldn't play the game. Like Draymond Green always said that if we played that Kobe and Shaq team, we would just put their ass in the pick and roll. You would, and you dominate them, and the Warriors would sweep that team. But
Right.
I don't want to get too into the weeds on Shaq. Shaq started out lean in Orlando. He bulked up because he felt it gave him. Look, and Shaq is a great player. Shaq on Orlando was the best version of Shaq, in my opinion. And then he got fat. Maybe it was because he thought it gave him an advantage. Maybe because he was undisciplined and fat. And I don't know. I don't know why he got that fat. But go watch Shaq on Orlando. He's a freak.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, now in the NBA, 3-point shooting is so pro-dominant that if Shaq was just by the rim, it'd be 4 and 5 basketball, and you'd have his weak spot exposed. Like, you could literally drop 20, 30 points with just Shaq being in the inner paint like that. So, now you look at what Luka does. Luka did so much for them as far as the playmaking goes. I think Dallas' biggest problem is who's now that playmaking wizard. It certainly ain't Spencer Dinwiddie. So if people are going to start saying Spencer is going to do what Luka did, get out of here. Like Nico is about to. But at the end of the day, my problem is this. You gave up Anthony Davis at 31 and 1 pick. Like, if you gave up 3 to 4 picks with Davis, okay, you could eventually rebound. But you gave up Anthony Davis, and now in the first game, the guy was playing with so much passion, and then it looked like he busted a nut on the court. Turns out it might be a sports hernia. Like it's insane. Like, the way he started with such energy and went down, the Dallas fans are out there going, we knew this was going to happen. And that fire is not going away. And unfortunately, now Davis is out for a month. So you figure you're probably going to come back, end of March, a week before playoffs? That team could be out of the play-in or playoff situation. And what did we say? They have about 2 years with the way it's looking. Now you have next year, and that's it. And if you don't make it work next year, there's no coming back from this. Like if they're trying to sell this team to go move to open casinos, okay. But, man, going about it the way you did, destroy a fan base like that,
let me address that. Right. The goal is not to move the team to Vegas. That's plan B. The goal was always to open up casinos in Texas, because Texas, if it was its own country, would be the 9th largest economy in the whole world. It would be by far the largest economy in the whole world to not have any casinos, right? So if the Adelson family opened up the Sands DFW, which was their goal, which they've already purchased the land to do, they would have a monopoly on gambling in Texas. It would be the biggest gambling enterprise. It would be the biggest casino in the world, right? Because it would be one casino in the 9th largest economy in the world. That's the goal. They want to open up the casino in Dallas. They don't want to move it to Vegas. They want to do it in Dallas because that's where all the people are, right? There's 30 million people in Texas and 0 casinos. Dallas is the 5th largest market in the country. Las Vegas isn't. If they can't get their casinos by 2027, they're going to tank the team, and by 2030, they'll be in Vegas. That's what's going to happen. So, man, I'm just letting you know. All right.
If you're a Dallas fan, pull your money now. Pull your tickets.
They're gonna put pressure on the politicians. Right now, the politicians, gambling in Texas is such an unpopular idea that they can't get it even on the ballot. Okay. Wow. Here's what the Adelson family is going to do. You know what's more unpopular? Losing the Mavericks. So you're either going to give me the casino and give me gambling, or you're going to be the politician that voted to lose the Mavs because you didn't give it to me, and you're going to lose your seat. So it's beyond basketball now. Now it's a contest of can they just will their way in to get what they want, right? Because if you don't give me the casino, I'm taking the Mavs and moving, and they're going to do it. And you can see Kyrie Irving at the end of it, Klay Thompson at the end of it, Anthony Davis at the end of it. They're going to try to win, and then at the 2027, they're going to tank this thing. They're going to tank it for a year or two. There's going to be nobody in the arena. Like, I'm from here. I can tell you. Like, before Mark Cuban bought the team and turned the Mavs around, I know it's been a while, it was empty. It was more empty than the Meadowlands. Like, nobody cared about the Mavs. They've been good for a long time now, so they have a fan base. But as soon as they're bad, it's not a basketball city. As soon as the Mavs are bad, it's going to dry up. Like, and there ain't going to be nobody here. And then they're going to move the team. No one's going to watch. No one's going to go. They're going to go to the NBA. It's like our attendance is pitiful. Our television ratings are pitiful. We're going to Vegas. And the NBA will have to say yes because their attendance and ratings are terrible in Dallas. So yeah, let's move it to a different market. That's what's going to happen. It's just
It's definitely
look,
something rare
give
you're not going to see too much
give
of.
us our casino, or we're moving. It's what
It's
it is.
definitely rare. And it's unfortunate that the owners now are starting to kind of take the power from the players because the players have been running everything. Now the owners saying, "Oh, I got my own investments. I got my own stuff to worry about." And I feel like there's going to be a internal civil war between owners and players eventually because this doesn't feel like it's leading to anything good. It feels like the players are fighting the owners. Now the owners are like, "Screw it, I'll just trade you somewhere else and take the whole team away." But it's bad. There's something brewing there, something to definitely look out for. But it's just unfortunate because everybody just wants to enjoy good basketball, and it feels like that is now being taken away slowly by layer, unfortunately.
All right, I want to get into the tank. Was the final thing I want
Mm-hmm.
to get into. The tank is not tanking. This tank is not. It's not tanking, John. I mean, we've talked about this, and I felt good about this a couple of weeks ago. We've gone the complete opposite direction. This tank is not tanking. And the other teams, we know that Philly wants to tank because if that pick falls into the top 6, they keep it. So Philly wants to tank. Chicago is tanking. What do we go over here, John? The tank isn't working. This is what tank? Lou says, what tank? Yes, I agree. What tank? We're not tanking. Like, we're winning games. So Cam's gone. Cam Johnson is here. Ben Simmons is gone. Cam Thomas is coming back. Do we try to get into the play-in?
I definitely wouldn't advise it, but there's the way it's just
Tank's
looking.
not working.
It seems Jordy. We call this a half-a-thon for us. This is not a takeover. It's a half-a-thon because it seems like we're half in, half out, and that's the way it's looking. But Jordy, what he has done this season has been nothing short of impressive. I mean, this is what we're calling the team from now on. It is Coach Jordy and the Junkyard Squad. It's literally what this team is made up of. Scraps that no other teams would ever use in serious situations, but Jordy's managed to turn them into decent competitive pieces that are over-exceeding expectations. But in a tank year, that's not good. But according to Jordy and the players, they don't care. And Sean and Joe, for some reason, don't care. Okay, you're the owner, so you're going to have to deal with this responsibility if we fall out of the top 5. But at the end of the day, this Junkyard Squad is being very competitive, and they're winning games against teams that are like near the playoff or play-in or just kind of like conserve energy and don't really care if the Nets win at this point because the Nets are the ones potentially screwing themselves out of potential top 3 draft picks. So it definitely doesn't make sense. This whole season hasn't made sense. I wish we had a GM and an owner that have backbones and are willing to control the situation. And I understand nobody ever wants to lose. Nobody ever wants to take a season and take away fans' opportunity to watch good basketball. But when you don't have the assets or the players or the talent to be a serious team, why are you doing this yourself? Why are you subjecting yourself to potentially being mediocre and ruining your chances at a really good top draft pick selection? That will be my ultimate question if we don't win a top 3 pick because none of this sounds part of any type of plan. I thought when we traded away the Suns picks, it was to build the value of our own pick and try to do player development. But it seems Jordy wants to win now. Player development's all fine and dandy, but he wants the results already. And it just seems like this is all mashed up together and it doesn't make sense. I don't feel like the structure or hierarchy is there. It seems like the inmates and Jordy are running the asylum and the owners really don't know what's going on, and it's just unfortunate. But who knows? Crazy things have happened, and if this leads to a top 3 pick, okay. But this could have been a lot easier, the path for us, if we did it a little more organized.
Lou says we just got to take the lottery. Last year we were 9 and we got in the top 3. Yeah, I get it, Lou, and anything can happen. But like to hope for another statistical anomaly after you got one last year, I just don't know if that's like the best at this point, Lou. Right? Like the chance of us actually getting into the play now and then into the playoffs is very, very slim. Agreed. Right? And look, the team that we would catch would be Miami. We're 7 games behind Miami. We're probably not going to do that. But then we're just going to be here like in the middle. Like the way we're playing, we're probably going to get more wins than Philly. We may get more wins than Chicago. So where does that put us?
It could put us around 7 or 10, and people wondering, well, what's the point? Why not just draft back or something like that? And there are some decent prospects. At the end of the day, if you can't get a top 3 prospect, which should be the goal, you could find building blocks in this draft. You know, there's Jeremiah Fears going to be in this draft. Trey Johnson. There's Common Maliwalk and Derek Queen, 2 really good centers, and we need a good center to be able to be competitive. But if you get a center in this draft, you have to trade Claxton as soon as possible. So if we drafted Common Mallywalk with the 7th pick or Derek Queen with the 10th pick, I would expect a Claxton trade to be imminent at that point. But at the same time, if people are going to be wondering, well, we could have got a top 5 pick. Why are we getting building block pieces? Well, the next year's draft, 2026, is looking very promising from 1 through 10. Really solid scores. In the top 3, I think it's one of the best top 3 I've ever seen in a draft yet. So, but at the end of the day, we could get a Cooper, Ace, or Harper and be ahead of schedule a little bit. But if not,
But
this
can
kind of
we
puts you on point for 2026.
Right now we're drafting 6 or 7. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Like how I did just to assume that we're going to get into the top 3 and that we're going to get another statistical anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's realistic. Like I honestly believe that Philly and Chicago, we can both. They're both within our sights. We could pass both of those teams and have a better record than both of those teams. Like I'm
Right.
not hoping for it. I'm just being realistic. The Nets aren't tanking. They're winning games left and right. But they had a stretch in December and January where it looked awful. And it's like, okay, this is what we are. We're gonna. But now they've been winning games. It's like if they win today against Charlotte, and we don't even know who's playing in Charlotte. And the last time they played Charlotte handed in the worst performance in the history of basketball. Like they did. Where do we go? Like, at what point do you say, well, this isn't really a tank because we're winning games left and right? Like, again, I was on the side of the tank. Reluctantly, I said, okay, let's just tank. It's not tanking. Like, it's not. There was a prolonged period in December and January where it was really, really bad. It wasn't bad before that, and it's not bad after that. That's not how you tank, right? Like, so when we talk about the tank, that's not what we're doing. We're winning games.
Right.
You
And
may like that idea, you may hate that idea, but it's just a reality. We're not going to lose 12 games in a row and get back into contention. The team's got too much heart and too much grit for that. They're not going to do it. And there's no pressure on the team to do that.
Right, and it seems like they're prioritizing the culture, the good vibes, the stuff from 2018. But at the end of the day, missing out on a top 3 pick when you have your own lottery pick, it's definitely something that you really can't forgive, especially when the effort hasn't been shown in a true tank process. I know everybody hates it, but to get a top 3 franchise guy to help project your future forward, not be the only one that takes your future forward, but be one of those solid pieces. It's what do these other teams have that are now making them contenders? I know the Magic have had a hard season, but without Paulo, they wouldn't be in a play-in or any type of situation. So you need those types of guys. Now, Gary said we might get the 5th to 6th. Edgecombe. I know not a lot of people like that guy because they wonder if his skill set is a bust or a potential steal. I think he's a true wild card. And if we have the coaching staff that seems to develop even scrap pieces, if you have an Edgecombe, he could potentially be a steal this draft, a building block piece. But at the end of the day, that's what it feels like. What me and Gary are saying is that we might get a building block lottery piece in this draft and not necessarily a top 3, and you still have another draft in the following year. But if we do the same process that we're doing now for next year, missing out on top 3 after that, I don't know where this future is going to go. It seems like you just have to trade for a star at that point. But it's like, why did we trade those Suns picks back for our own picks if the point wasn't to build the value of that pick? That's the question me and Gary have been struggling to ask, and it seems Sean and Joe are sleeping right now. So it's unfortunate, but maybe crazy things will work out in our favor. But like Gary said, to ask for another statistical anomaly when it's rarely happened, you're asking for a lot there. You're hoping to have excessive luck at that point.
I want to address this from BTB because I see this coming. With the 10th pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Ken Knerpel. Like, I don't want to be that dude, but like, I've been a fan of this franchise for too long to think that we're going to get something good. Like, I just, it's the cynic in me. I just like, I think this is what we're looking at. And like, it's just going to, but this is what I mean when I say the Nets are in hell. Like, I don't see how we get out of this. And Ken Knippel is not going to be the one that gets us out of hell.
Gary, I could just see Iron Eagle saying, a triple from Knipple. Oh my gosh, that dunk. It was a ripple from Knipple. Like, no. I don't need the puns. I want winning basketball.
He's going to have
crazy.
Did you guys talk about Derek Queen yet? Nate, I want to have you on. I want to record with you, and I want to talk about Derek Queen. And I want to talk about some other options because I don't think we're drafting in the top 3. So I want to talk to you about Trey Johnson. I want to talk to you about Derek Queen. I want to talk to you about VJ Edgecombe. I want to talk to you about a bunch of guys. Did you watch the Duke? Not the Duke. Did you watch the Maryland Rutgers game yesterday?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of film, and Derek Queen looked really good. Another 20-plus dominant performance, rebounding, assists. He really has the potential to be a top 5 prospect in this whole draft. His level is really good, and I know people are wondering, can we trade up to get him? I think he might get taken around 10 or 14 within the lottery, or at worst 15 or 16. So the Nets would have to trade multiple first-round picks to have a shot at Queen. But if you get Queen, he makes sense as a great center for a future team's future, or maybe a power forward, because the way his offense is, he could play offensively like a power forward and give you some intangibles as a center. Defensively, he has a lot of work to do, but he's a great double-double machine. Like, he really has the drive, and he can self-create like nobody's business. He got a mid-range shot. He's got different ways of scoring. Like, that is a center of the future, and I wish Brooklyn had a chance at him, but I don't know if he's going to be on our cards unless Marks does some serious maneuvering. But with Marks, he's not really that creative, so we'll have to hope for the best. But I don't know about that. But he's definitely going to be a steal in this draft for sure.
I've been high on Derek Queen for a while. You know, Maliwak or Maluk or however we say his name today, and Queen were kind of the guys that I was looking at if we didn't draft in the top 10, or if Milwaukee's pick. We're gonna get to Milwaukee's pick in a minute, because that pick looks better every day. VJ Edgecombe is I've got to watch him quite a bit here in Texas. I'm not a fan. Like, I'm not. I don't want him. Like, I'm not saying he can't ever be good. I don't see a guy with a pro skill set. I see a great athlete. I don't see an NBA player. I don't. Maybe one day he will be, but that's years out. I don't really want VJ Edgecombe. We can break that down, but I would if I was drafting at 5 and VJ and Derek Queen were both on the board, it's not even a question to me. I'm taking Queen.
It's interesting. Like, I try to be a little more optimistic about Edgecombe, because I think the skill set will translate, because I really like our coaching staff, but I also agree he has a lot of work to put in. But if our timeline is another year,
I would take Igor. I would take Igor over Edgecombe.
Igor too. If we need a point guard, I definitely want to get a point guard before I would get Edgecombe. But if our worst options, or our best of our worst options are Yegor, Derek Queen, or Edgecombe, I'm definitely taking one of those, and we can say that this was a semi-successful draft and not a collapse of a draft. But still, we'd have to fall in line around 5 through 7 to have a shot at those guys as well. And right now, our luck could go anywhere from top 5 to top 10, and we don't want to be top 10. We want to be top 5.
Look. The NBA may hook us up. We may do well with the ping pong balls. I'm not counting on it. If we're drafting you around where we're at, we're looking at 6 or 7. I think when this all is said and done, I think it may get worse than that. I think the Nets may win a bunch of games down the stretch, and we may be looking at 8 or 9. I'm not trying to be that guy. They're not tanking. They had one prolonged period of losing, and now they're playing decent basketball again. They swept Houston. What do you want me to say? Like, they're not as bad as we had thought, even though on paper they are. It is what it is.
It's the Junkyard Squad. The Junkyard Squad.
We got Charlotte today. I don't see any chance of us catching Charlotte like I did a few weeks ago. Charlotte's obviously injury plagued. We are now 4 games better than Charlotte. Any chance we get Charlotte, and how important for the tank is it that we lose today? Is this absolutely crucial that the Nets don't win this game with Charlotte today?
Unfortunately, at this point for me, I'm just going to let the results fall where they may. At the end of the day, many times we say they shouldn't win, they win. And many times we think they're going to win, they're going to lose. So at the end of the day, Jordy's in charge of this team. Sean and Joe have given the reins over to him for these last 30 games, and the results will be what they'll be. Charlotte, unfortunately, if they had Brandon Miller, I feel more optimistic about their chance against us. They really have LaMelo, who's coming back from injury, and besides Miles Bridges, their team doesn't have the depth right now to do much of anything. So I feel like if the Nets, with what they're doing, as long as they're hungry and they want to win and they're playing more competitively, the team, they're gonna steal wins when they probably shouldn't. But this way, it just seems like it's at. It seems culture and vibes have taken more of a precedent over talent for the draft. So whether that works in our favor or not, I would never have done a strategy like this. But Sean and Joe, like you keep saying, Gary, always want to be right.
To be fair, they sat Cam Thomas, they sat Cam Johnson, they sat D'Lo for times, and they were still somehow winning games. I can't put this totally on them. I think it has a lot to do with just the overall lack of intensity in today's NBA game. On random Tuesday games in January, teams just aren't putting forth max effort. Right, like we saw this early in the season in November when the Nets went into Sacramento, they went to Phoenix, they went to Golden State, and they kept winning these games. It's like, huh? It's just a general lack of intensity. Like no one, if you put forth a ton of effort, these are NBA players, kind of. If you put forth max effort and the other team isn't, you're going to win games by accident. You're going to win games just on hustle. You're going to win games on effort, and the Nets showed that. Where they go from here, I don't know. I think we can kiss Cooper, Ace, or Dylan Harper goodbye. I don't think I don't think that's happening. So I think it's time we look at Trey Johnson, Igor, VJ. We start looking at those guys, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys, as opposed to the top 3 guys. It just the tank didn't tank this year. It just didn't work. You got to be blackmailing Cam Thomas to act like he's still hurt. I agree with that. It's not making a difference. They're going to win again today. I'm not trying to be that guy, but they're beating Charlotte today. And then it's like, well, what do we do? We're going to be at the 20-win mark by the All-Star break.
If we get to 30 wins, it definitely was not a tank whatsoever. And I'm just like, what the hell are we doing? I want the Suns picks right now. The Suns are going to break it up this summer. KD doesn't trust that team anymore. Devin Booker can say he loves the team all he wants. If there's a value price out there for him, he's going to get traded. And Bradley Beal, they want to get the hell away from that guy. So if we had the Suns picks and we were doing this, it all makes sense. But you have your own pick, and it doesn't make sense. Some people keep saying that Jordy is the big win of the season, that what he's doing right now is important towards recruiting stars and all that. But that's no guarantee. At the end of the day, if I'm a star, I don't want to play with a junkyard team. I want to play with a team of stars and star players and role players and all that. We don't have that yet. So this draft is super important, and maybe things will work out for us. Maybe they won't. We can find building blocks in this draft. But the way we're going about it, you're banking on us doing something with 10 through 20 again. I'd rather be top 5 because at least we can find somebody to mold and develop the right way because we have a good coaching staff. But it's the pieces that seem to be the problem to solving this puzzle, which has even yet to begin, which is a problem.
I want to address these. Gary, prefer late 90s, early 2000s basketball 2020. Not necessarily. I prefer the intensity. I don't necessarily prefer the game. The game is more open now. The game is more entertaining. The players are obviously way more skilled now than then. I don't know that I prefer the 90s. Watching a game 87, 84. I don't know that I prefer that. It's just like BC. It's obvious there's a lack of intensity on random days. Not in the playoffs, but on regular games in December. Like there's a lack of intensity. There is, and that's how the Nets won a bunch of games. They played hard, and the other team didn't.
Right.
Nate says Edgecombe gives me Moutier vibes. Interesting fact about Moutier: the lady that braids my hair also braided Emmanuel Moutier's hair. So factor that in. Booker to LA, like Zero Kobe. I don't know how they're gonna get Booker.
I'll see it.
All right, I wanted to do one more thing. John, are the Nets gonna win today?
No, and then they will.
Is that what you're thinking? Or I think it's Charlotte.
I think for us, we just got to live with the results. We only have remaining February, March, and a little bit of April, and we're done. We have about 30 games left. At the end of the day, if we have over 30 wins, our odds to get top 3 are going to be steep to none. I would look at 5 to 10 at that point. But if you're still under 30, we might have a crack at top 5 at the very least. But still, this feels like a whole gambling expedition right now. It feels like we're gambling hope instead of trying to guarantee it by having one of the worst records. And I know Marks likes to live on a high wire, but this was not the season to be on that high wire, especially when you have the talent. And some people are praising Walmart guy Tucson, and hey, that guy had a hero's journey. Didn't work out in the frozen mart section, didn't work out in the dairy section. But hey, now you're an NBA player and you're playing good basketball, and everybody wants to build around this guy. No, I don't want to build around Tucson, respectfully. Like, we need the talent, and I don't know where we're going to end up in the draft. And then May 12th, we're going to have a big show that day. We're going to find out who we're drafting. So that day is Sean Mark and Joe Desai's day of judgment as far as how they did this season. And we're going to see exactly how they did depending on where we draft.
I want to address this. This is our next 7 games to end out the month. Charlotte, home for Charlotte. That's a very winnable game. Home for Philly. That's a winnable game. Home for Cleveland. That's obviously a loss. At Philly, that's a winnable game. At Washington, that's a winnable game. At Oklahoma City, that's a loss. And home for Portland, that's a winnable game. So, like, honestly, John, like, not being a fan and rooting for a tank, just as an objective basketball person, of these next 7 games, how many do you think they're winning? I'm going to say 4.
I think that's where it's about around 3 or 4. And just the way this team is competing, just like you said, we're now towards the end of the season. A lot of these teams that kind of have their spots locked up, they're going to rest guys now because that's what you're supposed to do to stay fresh for the playoffs, unless you're a team like the Knicks who can't afford to do that. So winning all these games early has even more consequences because now you might just edge out games because they're resting their best players, and that's strategy on their part. But it's not a strategy for us to execute because we already ruined that by winning so many games early on. So now you just have to live with the results. There's nothing we can do or say. We tried to get this all by the deadline, guys. We tried, but the organization seems to have a vision. I don't necessarily see that vision doing much right now, but we'll see.
We did lose to Washington, but we swept Charlotte in a home and home and beat Miami. So I kind of like the loss to Washington is great, but like, what does it mean when we swept when we swept one of the best teams in the West and then beat Miami? Like, what is that? Who cares? Like,
it just feels so up and down. It's a half-a-thon for us. We're half in and half out. That's all it's felt like. I thought we were tied with Charlotte for fourth worst odds. We were good. We were sitting in the greatest position they can be. And then Sean Marks ruined all the work that he tried to do. Like, this is the incompetence we talk about. Like, seriously, all you had to do was stay there. And now you're back up to 6 or 7. Like, what happened? What happened to that front office? I want to know. Because it doesn't make any sense.
This is the stretch I'm talking about from where they played, from December 27th until January 27th. That stretch of games where they went, let's see, 1-3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2-8, 2-9, 2-10, 2-11, 2-12, 2-15. They had a stretch where they went 2-15. If they would have tried in these games, right, and instead of going 2-15, they go, 6-11, and they're 4 games better. At that point, they're all in for the play-in, right? Like, this is kind of what saved us, this stretch right here. If they don't do that, if they play Cam Thomas in that stretch and they play Cam Johnson in that stretch, and et cetera, they're in a much different spot if they win 3 or 4 more games in that stretch. Right. And then they're going for the play-in. Like, that's what I'm saying. There was 1 month where they played horrendous basketball. Other than that, they've really not been that bad somehow. Which, like, let's take a little victory out of this. Ben Simmons is gone, and we have our coach for the future. Like, can we agree that those are 2 good things for the Nets?
Most definitely, 100%. And me and Gary don't blame Jordy for how well he's coaching. We're proud of what he's doing. Exceptional. But at the end of the day, front office, letting it play the way it is, not having any type of real action. That's the problem. Dennis and Doe for potato chips and old deal jerseys does not sell me on having an effective tank season, no matter how hard you try to spin me on it. We're not buying that. We're not buying what they're trying to sell. So this summer is everything for Brooklyn. It will decide our next 3 to 4 years. So they got to stop playing Candyland like they were this season and really start thinking about who's going to be on our team. Because right now, 3/4 of this team right now is not going to be our team of the future. So this summer, we got to decide who's going, who's staying. That's the truth of this whole matter right now.
I just did some math. If you take away that 2-15 stretch, besides that, they're 17-19. 16-19. 16-19.
Gary, doesn't this feel like 2018 bootleg version of D-Lo and the Misfits, except we have our own picks now? That's what it feels like. It feels like this is what it is before Sean Marks goes for a superstar or he drafts somebody. Like, if he doesn't care about the draft, why did you trade the Suns picks away? We could have used those Suns picks to get a star and build this team. We could have done that route, but you get your own pick back and you don't care about it as much. That's the problem. That is a huge problem.
You know what's frustrating is last year they tried to go all in to make the play-in. and they won what,
Mhm.
32 games.
Mhm.
They tried everything they could to tank this year. And they're going to win 32 games just like they did last year. It's like, this is unbelievable. That's the difference Jordy versus Jock makes, I guess, right? Like, last year they tried to win. They had Bridges. They traded for Schroeder. Like, they tried to win. They tried to get the 10th seed. They tried to get into the play-in and got 32 wins. And this year they tried to lose, and they're going to get 32 wins. This is the tank just didn't work this year. I don't know what to make of this. I'm going to be on later to talk with Dylan. Hopefully John can join us too. If not, it'll be Dylan and I.
Oh yeah, Gary,
But,
we didn't talk about the Bucks pick yet. Last topic. Want to talk about the Bucks real quick? The Bucks pick.
oh
You said
yeah,
you want to touch on that.
yeah.
Let's touch on that.
Let's pull it back up. Let me pull up Tankathon again.
Oh, can you pull up the Bucks schedule too? Because this schedule, I think, is important to show the people about their upcoming schedule too.
All right. Can you guys? Okay. So right now the Bucks are. We'd be drafting 19 with the Bucks pick. They're 28 and 23. They're 4-6 in their last 10. You saying that their schedule gets real tough coming up?
Yeah, let's look at the schedule.
Let's take a
I saw
look.
the schedule. It looks pretty
Give me 1
tough.
second. What is it? It's top 4 protected, right? So we can't get in the top
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna
happen. All right. So they got home for Golden State, at Minnesota, LA, Washington, Miami. Well, hang on. Here we go. All right, Golden State, that's a winnable game. It's not an easy game, but it's winnable. Minnesota, again, winnable, but not easy. Clippers, Washington, Miami, Houston, Denver. Yeah, it's not an easy schedule.
Yeah.
They got
And
Dallas.
Giannis is out for 2 to 3 weeks, so this week all starts next week, and then maybe an extra week after that, and then he'll come back. Now, having Giannis, I mean, they did good yesterday against a team with a bad superstar with a bad knee, but against those other teams, not having Giannis, Damon's gonna have to do a lot of heavy lifting. He has to stop being the passer and be that guy. But this is Giannis's chance to evaluate the team without him and see, hey, can this be something I can stay on next year? I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, as long as this Bucks pick falls under 20, it is a great valuable pick for us to get somebody that we could really utilize or be a potential trade option and move up in the draft, depending on who gets what. So this Bucks pick is looking really good. It's a steal for us. I don't think the Knicks thought much of that Bucks pick when they gave it to us, but thank you very much. You gave us another piece of gold that we can use to advance our future forward. So I feel great about the Bucks pick. I think the Bucks are breaking it up soon. Dame's got a $60 million option coming up this summer. They pick up that option. How are you going to build a team with a guy making 60 mil? That's insane. So I think the Bucks right now, as long as they're under 10 games, over 500, as long as they're under that number, that Bucks pick should be under 20. So let's aim for that, and I feel good about our chances right now. I think the Bucks, the schedule's going to catch up with them right now without Giannis.
All right, so I just want to address this last thing. If Milwaukee falls into the play-in spot, gonna get interesting, right? Like,
Very
could they make
interesting.
the playoffs all together, and then that becomes a lottery pick for the Nets, and then let's say the Nets are drafting 13 and 7, something like that. Could they then combine those 2 picks to move into the top 5? I don't know. But
That's a very interesting question. But if we had a chance to get Derek Green with the 13th pick, I'm going all in on that Bucks pick. I'll attach you in future because that's the thing about this draft for Sean Marks. You have 31 picks. You can move whatever picks you want on draft night to move up in the draft. We have the most picks right now in the East. We have a lot of bargaining power. Can Sean Marks actually use the bargaining power to his advantage? He hasn't shown us he can really do that yet. He should. This is not the draft night to just say, oh, I'm going to draft whoever is 25, 26. No, use those picks, consolidate them, and move up. You have the power to. A lot of these other teams don't have the power we do, so use it effectively.
I want to close on this, John. Right now, the last playing spot is the Bulls, as it always is. The Bulls and the Hawks. The Nets are, 3 games behind them, 3.5 games behind the Bulls, who are clearly tanking. Do the Nets catch the Bulls for that last playing spot?
Scary thing is they have a chance to. I mean,
if Chicago's tanking, Atlanta's tanking, they could do it. So
yeah, and if Thomas comes back, I mean, if you're playing Thomas, Johnson, and Claxton, there's your micro 3. I'm not even going to call it big or mini. There's your micro 3, and that might be enough than what the Bulls and the 76 have. And Embiid, He might rest soon. They said he has to have surgery on his knee. He's jogging out there, Gary. He's
The Bulls
jogging
aren't
out there.
not the Bulls. The Sixers aren't making the play. The Sixers are going to just roll the dice and see if they can
Uh-huh.
fall in the top 6. If they fall in the top 6, they keep their pick. Philly's not going to win many more games this year. So
Right.
all the teams ahead of the Nets for that last playing spot are all tanking, and the Nets aren't. So, like, maybe the Nets get this. Maybe the Nets get this. And then Sean Marks is going to call himself a genius and be like, I got this team into the play-in. Who cares? Who cares?
The guy from Walmart led me to the play-in. Who? What? Like, come on. That's bad. There's no point for us to be in a play-in this year. There really isn't. Hey, listen, if it happens, the people that wanted that, okay. But if you get the 10th pick, it was not worth it to get exited that quickly. But if you're out of the play-in, at least we could be in top 5. But now with Philly and the Bulls are kind of just being laissez-faire, there's a scary chance the Nets could do it, especially if Cam comes back. So I don't think that does much for us, but this organization is just letting the chips fall where they may, and this was not the season to do it like that. It really wasn't.
All right, y'all. Appreciate everyone. It's going to be interesting to see how the Nets close out. I still don't know what their next move is, but the tank is obviously not tanking. It's February 10th, 2025, from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Peace.